across on Twitter Cenk Uygur, who's running for California's 25th congressional district, the seat that's being opened by Katie Hill resigning from that position. Cenk was on Twitter calling out one of his Democratic opponents, who's kind of seen as one of the frontrunners, that being Christy Smith, for not wanting to engage in any type of, public and formal debate between the candidates that are running to fill this 25th congressional position in California, because I guess she was saying that she is entitled to the seat, whatever that means. Like, no, like, nobody's really entitled to the seat. We're having this election to decide who, in fact, the voters want to represent the 25th district of California. So, no, in fact, Christy Smith, that's not true. You're not entitled to the seat. And, I don't think it speaks very well of her campaign if they're not willing to, engage in these debates with the other Democratic candidates, including Cenk Uygur, as well as, the Republican candidates. It seems very silly and, I don't know, backwards in a way to say that, you're entitled to this position, but you're not willing to engage in any type of debate. Now, I think you're saying that because you realize that if you go out there on the debate stage against more progressive candidates, somebody like Cenk Uygur, then they would really call you out on your neoliberal centrism and your protection of the status quo with regards to issues like healthcare, because Christy Smith does not support Medicare for all when Cenk Uygur does, which would still leave, people without insurance, people going bankrupt because they don't have insurance, people dying because they don't have insurance. She supports that. Cenk Uygur supports Medicare for all. Christy Smith also does not support free college, which Cenk Uygur does. So, if she went on the debate stage with Cenk Uygur, and if there's other progressives running, to fill that seat that's being left open by Katie Hill resigning, then they would also be able to point those things out about Christy Smith and how she's, just really wanting to protect the status quo and make these small tweaks around these edges when we really need this bold, transformative ideas and somebody who's ready and willing to stand up and champion those. Somebody like Cenk Uygur, who's willing to call out the, Democratic establishment, the party leaders like Nancy Pelosi for not supporting these, very positive and progressive measures and policies that we need to really, make the United States these, shining place on the hill that, the media and the politicians like to loft it up as being, when in reality, it falls far short in areas like education, healthcare, infrastructure, our tax system, reigning in Wall Street, all of these, the military industrial complex, all of these, different areas that we really need to think about in a totally different way to treat, both people better here in the United States, our environment better, as well as our foreign policy. And Christy Smith isn't willing to stand up and stake out, a populist place on the left, because she is a more of that neoliberal centrist, just wanting to protect the status quo and make these small tweaks around the edges without really making any type of systemic changes around these, systems. So eventually they'll just end up replicating the same problems if we take that approach. And, we need as many strong progressive voices as we can in Congress to stand up, and who will have the political courage to, take on the moneyed interests both in Congress and outside of it to fight for things like Medicare for all, a Green New Deal, free college, legalizing marijuana, taxing Wall Street, etc., etc. So that's why I think Christy Smith does not want to engage in any type of debate with Cenk Uygur or any of the other candidates in the race, because she realizes that, you know, if she is pushed on her policy position, she will be seen, you know, as lacking, and so that's why they're saying they're not wanting to engage in that. So those are just my thoughts. What do you think about Cenk Uygur's opponent, Christy Smith, saying that she won't participate in any other debates because she's entitled to the seat? I think that's a bunch of BS, and she's just hiding because she would get called out for a lot of her, you know, positions that just protect the status quo and don't really fix these bigger problems that we have in like healthcare and education. So please leave your comments in the comment sections down below, and please subscribe if you haven't already. I have not forgot about taking the polar plunge. I did hit that 50 subscriber mark, and I will be going to the Cedar River on Wednesday, taking the GoPro and recording it for y'all. Peace and much